Welcome to a deep dive
Hi.
into the world of feedback,
Right.
specifically in Taekwondo.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've got research articles,
Wow.
training manuals, even some personal philosophies to look through today.
Awesome.
And I think this one is going to be really useful for anyone who teaches coaches or mentors.
Yeah, for sure.
Get this, the sources we have reveal not only how to give great feedback,
Okay.
but also the why behind it,
Right.
delving into psychology and learning theory.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a secret decoder ring
Yeah,
for making your feedback truly hit the mark.
it's true.
Yeah.
And while our focus is Taekwondo,
Mhm.
these principles apply
Right.
far beyond the dojang.
Yeah.
We'll be exploring how feedback shapes learning and growth
Yeah.
in any context.
So first things first, what exactly is feedback?
Good question.
I'm seeing from these sources that it's way more nuanced
Yes,
than just pointing out mistakes.
it really is.
Yeah.
Feedback is a whole spectrum of communication aimed at helping someone improve.
Okay.
So think positive reinforcement,
Right.
constructive criticism,
Yeah.
subtle cues, even a raised eyebrow can be a form of feedback in the right context.
Oh, wow. So it's not even always verbal.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. And this all connects back to how our brains learn.
Yes.
We're not just talking about gut feelings here. There's actual science
Right.
behind how feedback helps us form those neural pathways
Absolutely.
and really solidify skills.
This Sheeler study we have here
Okay.
actually found that even seasoned teachers
Oh, wow.
often struggle to give effective feedback.
Interesting.
So we're all in good company
Yeah.
if we've ever felt like our feedback
Right.
wasn't quite landing the way we hoped.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get specific.
Okay.
One thing these sources emphasize is the power of specific feedback.
For sure.
Why is that so important?
Think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you're trying to get somewhere new, and all you have is a vague direction, like head north.
Right.
You might eventually stumble upon your destination,
Yeah.
but it'll take a lot longer
Right.
and involve a lot more wrong turns.
So many wrong turns.
It is that.
Versus if you had a GPS
Yes.
giving you turn-by-turn directions.
Precisely.
Much easier.
Specific feedback acts like that GPS
Yeah.
for the learner.
I see.
Instead of just saying good kick,
Okay.
we need to tell them exactly what made it good.
Right.
Was it the hip rotation,
Uh-huh.
the timing,
Okay.
the chambering of the leg?
Gotcha.
That level of detail helps their brain
Right.
form those clear neural pathways
Okay.
and make targeted adjustments.
So in a Taekwondo context, instead of a generic good job, you might say?
Wow, that Dalio Chagi had incredible power.
Okay.
I could see how much force you generated from your hip rotation.
Nice.
Try maintaining that same engagement when you execute your ab Chagi next.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this theme of balance come up a lot, too. The sources talk about this sandwich method.
Right.
Positive, constructive, positive.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thinking behind that?
You know, this sandwich method isn't just about being nice.
Right.
It's rooted in how our brains respond to feedback.
Okay.
Too much negativity triggers our defense mechanisms,
Makes sense.
making us less receptive to learning.
So starting and ending with a positive note
Yes,
creates a more receptive environment.
exactly.
Okay.
It's like acknowledging what's working well,
Yeah.
offering a specific area for improvement,
Okay.
and then reinforcing that positive momentum.
Have you ever been on the receiving end of feedback that felt totally imbalanced?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was all criticism or all fluff, and
Definitely.
it just didn't quite land right?
All the time.
You know, I have.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And that's why this balance is so crucial.
Makes sense.
Too much praise can also be a problem.
Oh, really?
It makes it hard to discern what actually needs work.
Okay.
Almost like a constant pat on the head, regardless of effort.
It's like trying to navigate with a compass that's always spinning.
Yeah,
You never know which way to go.
exactly.
Speaking of timing,
Yes.
the sources also stress that when we give feedback
Right.
matters just as much as what we say.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
Think about trying to recall a dream
Okay.
right after you wake up. The details are vivid,
Right.
but hours later, it's a blur.
Yeah, totally.
The closer feedback is to the action,
Okay.
the stronger those neural connections become.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to
Yeah.
giving feedback.
Awesome.
So we've covered the importance of being specific,
Yes.
finding that constructive, positive balance,
Right.
and delivering feedback promptly.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm curious about those different coaching styles.
Okay.
The source material describes 4 main approaches:
Right.
instructional questioning mirroring and positive reinforcement.
Sounds good.
Where do we even begin?
Well, like any good coach, you want to choose your tools wisely.
Right.
Instructional coaching is your go-to for beginners
Okay.
who need clear, step-by-step guidance.
Yeah.
Think basic stances or blocks,
Okay.
those foundational elements.
Right.
It's like giving someone a recipe before they can experiment with different flavors.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Then as students progress,
Right.
questioning coaching becomes increasingly valuable.
Definitely.
Okay.
This style encourages them to become active participants
Right.
in their own development
Okay.
by prompting them to analyze their own performance.
So instead of saying your stance is too wide.
You might ask,
Okay.
how does your stance feel in relation to your balance?
Right.
What adjustments could you make to
Okay.
create a more stable base?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It encourages them to think critically
Yes.
and find their own solutions.
exactly.
That's a game changer.
Totally.
It's about empowering them to become their own coaches in a way.
Yeah.
And what about mirroring?
Mirroring can be a powerful tool for raising self-awareness.
Okay.
It's about reflecting back to the student
Okay.
what you're seeing,
Okay.
either verbally or physically.
So you might say, notice how your back leg straightens prematurely during that kick.
Yeah.
Or you could actually demonstrate their movement
Right.
so they can see it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
Almost like holding up a mirror
That's
to their
right.
technique.
You got it.
Okay, and of course we have positive reinforcement,
Yes.
which, as the name suggests,
Right.
is all about highlighting what's going well.
But remember, even positive reinforcement needs to be specific.
Right.
Instead of a generic good job, you might say.
Okay.
That was a really powerful strike.
Yeah.
I could see how much force you generated from your hip rotation.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how all these seemingly small things can have a huge impact
Yeah.
on learning.
Absolutely.
It's not just about delivering information.
No.
It's about understanding the individual and guiding them.
On their own path of improvement.
And that's exactly what we'll be diving deeper into
Okay.
in the next part of our deep dive.
Cool. I'm excited.
We'll be exploring specific feedback techniques
Okay.
and looking at how to tailor our approach
Right.
to different learners and situations.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to our deep dive into feedback in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these principles we've been unpacking
Right.
apply whether you're on the mat in a boardroom
Yeah,
or just navigating everyday life.
totally.
Who knew Taekwondo held the secrets to better communication in general?
It's those underlying principles of learning and growth
Right.
that make it so universally applicable.
Yeah. One thing that keeps coming up in these sources
Uh-huh.
is tailoring feedback to the individual.
Absolutely.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah.
It's about understanding each person's learning style
Yes,
and personality.
that's so true.
Some people thrive on direct constructive criticism.
While others need a gentler approach,
Yeah.
kind of like how some people love spicy food
Yeah.
and others can barely handle a sprinkle of pepper.
That's a great analogy.
And it highlights how important it is for feedback givers
Yes.
to be attuned to those subtle cues,
Right.
being able to read the room and adapt your communication style.
Exactly. So it's not just about what we say,
Right.
but how we say it.
The tone of voice, body language,
Yes.
even the timing.
It all makes a huge difference.
One of the training manuals we have here
Right.
talks about the importance of creating a safe space for feedback.
Right. A space where it's clear
Yeah.
that it's not about judgment or criticism,
Right.
but a shared commitment to growth.
Like creating a learning laboratory where it's okay to experiment
Exactly.
and make mistakes.
Yes.
Without fear of being ridiculed.
When people feel safe and supported,
Right.
they're much more open to feedback,
Yeah.
even if it challenges them.
I love that it's like we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
Working towards a common goal.
That's the spirit.
And it highlights how feedback is an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
A dialogue where both parties
Yes.
feel heard and respected.
So how do we cultivate that kind of dynamic?
Yeah. What are some practical things we can start doing today
Okay.
to give better feedback?
Well, it all starts with a growth mindset,
Okay.
believing in our own capacity to learn and grow,
Right.
as well as the potential of those
Yeah.
we're giving feedback to.
It's about seeing feedback as a tool for improvement,
Yes,
not a weapon to tear someone down.
precisely.
Okay.
And when we frame it that way,
Right.
it changes the entire energy of the interaction.
These sources also really drive home the importance
Yes,
of being specific and actionable.
absolutely. No more vague praise
Right.
or criticism.
Vague feedback is like giving someone a treasure map
Uh-huh.
with no X marks the spot.
I like that.
It's frustrating and unhelpful.
Instead, we need to give people clear,
Right.
concrete guidance on what they're doing well and how they can improve.
Think of it like giving directions.
Okay.
Instead of saying go north,
Right.
you give specific landmarks and turn-by-turn instructions.
So in Taekwondo, instead of saying good kick, you might say,
Okay.
your hip rotation was really powerful
Yeah.
on that roundhouse kick.
Okay.
Try maintaining that same engagement
Uh-huh.
when you do a side kick.
That makes much more sense.
It gives the learner something tangible to work with.
And of course, we can't forget about timing.
Right.
Delivering feedback promptly makes all the difference.
Our brains are wired to learn best when feedback is immediate.
Okay.
It helps solidify those neural connections,
Right.
making it much more likely the learner will remember and
Yeah.
apply the information.
Otherwise, it's like trying to give someone directions
Yeah.
after they've already reached their destination.
Exactly.
Not very helpful. This reminds me of something my instructor used to say.
Oh, yeah.
Feedback is a gift.
I like that.
But just like any gift, it needs to be given thoughtfully and at the right time
For sure.
for it to be truly appreciated.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
And it highlights the fact that effective feedback is a skill
Yeah.
that takes practice.
It does.
The more we do it, the better we get at it.
Which makes this whole deep dive feel less like a lecture
Right.
and more like a training session.
I like that.
And the great thing is those benefits extend
Yeah,
far beyond the dojang.
right.
They ripple out into all areas of our lives,
Totally.
helping us become better communicators, better teachers,
Uh-huh.
and better learners overall.
You know, as we've been talking about all this,
Yeah.
I've realized that I often focus on what I'm saying during feedback.
Good.
But I haven't been paying as much attention to
Well,
how I'm receiving feedback.
That's a great point and something the research touches on as well.
Oh, really?
There's an art to receiving feedback gracefully
Okay.
and extracting maximum value from it.
So how do we become better recipients of feedback,
Yeah.
even when it stings a bit?
It goes back to that growth mindset,
Okay.
being open to hearing feedback even when it's not what we want to hear.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that even constructive criticism is ultimately intended to help us grow,
Yes.
not a personal attack,
Right.
but a stepping stone to improvement.
Exactly. And there are some simple things we can do
Okay.
to become more active participants in the process.
Yeah.
Like asking clarifying questions,
Okay.
paraphrasing what we've heard
Mhm.
to ensure we understand,
Right.
and even expressing gratitude for the feedback.
It's almost like turning feedback into a collaborative conversation
Exactly.
rather than a one-way lecture.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to another fascinating aspect of feedback
Ooh.
that we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Oh, do tell. I'm on the edge of my seat. Okay, spill the beans. What's this fascinating aspect of feedback?
You know how we've been talking about feedback as this tool for improvement,
Uh-huh.
for refining our technique? The sources take it a step further, suggesting that feedback can actually be a catalyst
Oh, wow.
for something called tacit knowledge.
Okay, tacit knowledge.
That sounds intriguing,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure I've ever heard that term before.
It's kind of like the difference between
Okay.
knowing the steps to a dance
Okay.
and actually feeling the rhythm in your body.
I see.
Tacit knowledge is that deep, intuitive understanding
Right.
that goes beyond conscious thought.
Okay.
It's what allows us to perform a skill effortlessly
Right.
without having to think through every step.
So it's like that aha moment.
Yes.
Where everything just clicks
Uh-huh.
and the skill becomes second nature.
Exactly.
Like when you're learning to drive a car
Yeah.
and suddenly you're not thinking about the clutch and the gear shift.
Right.
You're just driving.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And the research suggests that effective feedback can help bridge the gap
Okay.
between intellectual knowledge
Right.
and that embodied mastery.
Wow. That's powerful.
It's like feedback unlocks a hidden potential within us,
Yeah.
helping us move from simply knowing something
Uh-huh.
to truly owning it.
Exactly. And I think a great example of this from the Taekwondo world
Okay.
would be mastering a complex kick.
Okay.
Imagine a student who's been diligently practicing the movements,
Right.
studying the technique,
Yeah.
but it's just not flowing naturally.
And I can picture that
Yeah.
they're hitting all the right points, but it still feels a bit robotic, a
Right.
bit forced.
Then they receive a piece of feedback that unlocks something for them.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's a subtle adjustment to their foot placement,
Right.
a slight shift in their weight distribution,
Okay.
or a new way of visualizing the movement.
And suddenly the kick feels completely different.
Exactly.
It's smoother, more powerful.
Yes.
And they're not even thinking about it anymore. It's just happening.
That's tacit knowledge in action.
Wow.
And it's incredible how feedback can facilitate those leaps in understanding.
It's like feedback is a key
Yeah.
that unlocks a door to a whole new level of skill and understanding.
Absolutely.
This is making me realize that feedback is so much more than just words.
Yeah.
It's about the energy we bring to the interaction, the intention behind our communication,
Yes.
and even those nonverbal cues we send through our body language.
You're hitting on a crucial point.
Yeah.
Empathy is key, both as givers and receivers of feedback.
Okay.
We need to be attuned to the emotional landscape of the interaction.
Right.
Are we creating a safe space for open communication?
Yeah.
Are we being respectful and considerate, even when delivering difficult messages?
It's about treating each other as partners in this learning journey.
Yes.
Recognizing that we all have our own strengths, weaknesses, and sensitivities.
Absolutely. And being mindful of those nuances can make all the difference.
Right.
In how feedback is received and processed.
I agree. You know, this entire deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening for me.
Me too.
I'm starting to see feedback in a whole new light.
Yeah.
It's not just about correcting mistakes.
Right.
It's about unlocking potential, fostering growth, and deepening our connection with ourselves and others.
Absolutely.
Me too. It's like we've been given this powerful tool that we can use to shape not only our skills, but also our relationships and our overall approach to learning.
And what's truly remarkable is that even small adjustments in how we give and receive feedback can have a profound ripple effect.
So whether you're a black belt or a white belt, a seasoned instructor or a brand new student, there's always something to learn about the art of feedback.
Well said. And with that, we'll leave you to ponder these ideas.
Okay.
And experiment with these techniques until next time.
All right.
Keep training, keep learning, and keep growing.